Be confident, be bold, be authentic, but don't forget to take action. This is Ordinary to Badass, where our stories empower women to step into the spotlight of their own lives and pursue what they're truly passionate about. It's time to step into the arena and become more than just extraordinary. It's time to become a badass with your host, Marie Sonneman.
Welcome to Ordinary to Badass, episode number 88. In this episode, you'll hear from Sherry Lowe, who is the queen of debt-free. Sherry and her husband paid off $127,000 in debt in just under 4 years. How crazy is that? Sherry will also share some tips, like how you can get stuff for free because she is the queen of free, and kind of the mindset that her and her husband had to have paying off that much debt. Her husband even went like 2.5 years without going to restaurants. Can you believe that? Stay tuned. I know that you're absolutely going to love this episode. But before we get there, I just wanted to mention the Ordinary to Badass Facebook group. It's such a group of badass women. We're there to cheer each other on and absolutely 100% drama free. But there's nothing like joining a group and having women that absolutely have your back as you're pursuing your badassery or just pursuing more in life. And not just that, but we do a deeper dive in what you hear on the podcast we talk about in the Ordinary to Badass Facebook group. So lots of good stuff going on in there. One other thing, I just want to keep you guys in the loop in what's going on with me. I recently finished my rough draft of my new book. I'm super excited. It's definitely been a labor of love, and I sent it off to an editor, so it's been so much fun. But yeah, I would love to keep you in the journey with that, kind of what it's going like, what my struggles are, all that jazz. But the way that you're probably going to find out more about it is either through the newsletter or being in the Facebook group, because sometimes I'll ask for feedback. I'll ask you what you think on my book cover when that comes up. Hopefully that's coming soon, or book titles and all that fun stuff. So yeah, I'll keep you more in the loop about, it's going to be an Ordinary to Badass book about finances. Haven't quite narrowed down my title yet. I do have 2 options, and I've thrown it out a little bit, but I'm still picking between the 2, so we shall see. But I would love to have you as part of that journey. So yeah, I just wanted to keep you in the loop with that, and you can find out more details in the Facebook group. Welcome to Ordinary to Badass. Whether you're ordinary or badass, I'm glad you're here. Today's guest is Sherry Lowe. Sherry, thank you so much for being here. Excited to have you on the show.
I'm excited to be with you too.
So before we go any further, I've got to ask you, do you consider yourself ordinary or badass?
I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I think we're probably all a little bit on a spectrum, and it depends on what area of my life personally that I'm reflecting on. So some days very ordinary, some days very badass, some days somewhere in between.
How do you feel today?
I'm feeling pretty good. So I'll go with badass. That's fine.
So what is something that you feel like is badass that you've done in your life?
Yeah. So if I'm thinking about physical things, I'm a endurance junkie and I love endurance sports. And I rode 160 miles in one day on my bike across the state of Indiana. And I was pregnant, and I did not know that I was pregnant at the time. It always sounds like much more of a badass story when you say that, because I think people think of me like tottering along. I was like 7 or 8 weeks. I was very, very, very early on. But and then that daughter of mine now she's 12, almost 13, and she's run 2 half marathons already as a little kid. And so
Oh,
I
cool.
think that it dates back to the fact that we rode 160 miles together before she came onto the planet. So,
Nice. That's so awesome. So I love that you said she's only 12 years old. Is
yeah,
that right?
yeah.
So what got you into having her run with you?
She wanted to. After I was done running one time, I think she was probably like 5 or 6, and I was finished, and she had been begging me for weeks to go on a run with me. And I'm always like, I've got this much time. I got to get out there. I got to get it done. And I've obviously thought she probably wouldn't have a whole lot of real interest, that she was just, come on. And so I said, well, you know what, when I'm done, let's run a half mile to cool down. And as a 5, 6 year old, she ran a half mile without even like stopping or anything. And I thought, oh my. And so we started doing 5Ks together, and that was just really fun. And then she got faster than me. And so I can't keep up with her anymore by any means or stretch of the imagination. I'm getting slower. She's getting faster. But yeah, so it was kind of cool. And then I hooked her up with other people who knew more about running than I did eventually. And it's taken off as her own personal pursuit. So
I love that. I think that's so powerful. Also, sometimes we put like limitations on kids and what
I
they can do,
know.
or we think, oh, they can do what we can do, or even we're like, oh, because of their age, but it's amazing what they
Right.
can do when you just kind of let them explore it.
Yeah. And you know what? She is small in stature, and was very small at that point in time. And so when we would start to do 5Ks, and she started to place in the women's category as a kid who was wearing like 4 or 5 in size, even though she was 8 or 9 years old. And you should see people's faces. It's pretty miraculous when they're like, what is happening here?
That's
So
so cool. I like it. So Sherry, can you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself?
yeah, so I am a personal finance blogger and author. I blog at queenoffree.net, and you can find me on just about every social media platform out there at the Queen of Free, all one word together. So Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, you name it, you're going to find me. I'm a little more active on certain ones than I am on others, I think, just like anybody else. But a little bit about our story. My husband and I decided back in March of 2008, actually with that daughter's birth that I was just talking about, to make some major changes in our finances. And when we really sat down and evaluated where we were at as a couple and as individuals, we realized we had a lot of consumer debt. And so on April the 2nd of 2008, just 2 weeks after we had our daughter Zoe, we set off on this journey of paying off all of our debt. We thought it would take us 15 years, 7.5, if we just really hustled and buckled down and reduced our lifestyle and increased our income. And yet we are people of faith, and we're thankful that God has better math than we do, because we sat at this very kitchen table where I'm recording this podcast right now, and on March the 28th of 2012, and we had paid off $127,482.30 in just under 4 years.
I love that. That's so powerful. And to be yours, I will just say that I read one of Sherry's books a long time ago, and it really helped change my mindset and helped me to pay off debt. But really what I love about your book is that, and I'm talking about How to Slay the Debt-Free Dragon, but what I loved about it is how practical it was, because before that, like, a lot of books were they seem so above me, and I'm not talking down on your book. I'm just saying, like, I couldn't relate to them, or I couldn't understand what they were trying to tell me. And it would make me feel more stupid. And
yeah,
so,
no,
like,
I'm so glad to get that feedback, because when I sat down to write it, I wanted to do 2 things. And one was to inspire people and encourage them, because if I could do anything with anyone who's struggling with money, it would be to sit down at my kitchen table and tell you, you can do this. You're smart enough, you're capable enough, you have the tools you need, you can do it. And then the next thing I would want to do is really give them those practical steps of, here's what it looks like on a Friday night when you don't know what to fix for dinner. And here's what it looks like when your kid has a birthday. And here's what it looks like at Christmas time. Or here's what it looks like in your relationships. I really wanted to dig into the nitty gritty of not just a philosophical, economic treatise sort of idea. There are some steps in there, that you could take, but more of everyday living, because while I can say we spent just under 4 years, there was a lot of just life. There was
Yeah.
breakfast and practice and, celebrations, and I really wanted to share what did life look like during that era for us.
Yeah. So can you take us back to when you first found out that you had $127,000 in debt and what that felt like?
Yeah. So here's the thing, it's so funny to me. It's that, I guess, funny now, not funny then. Was that really a lot of times people ask me, what do you have to show for it? And what kind of debt was it? And I did an interview years ago with Redbook magazine, and the author of the article really wanted this outlandish story. I think she wanted, we went to Europe and put it all on a charge card, or I bought boots in every color, and I'm like, nope, we bought tires. This is what we bought, like groceries. Like it wasn't anything exciting. And when Brian came to me and he pitched this idea of us getting out of consumer debt, I was actually the one, I think, like most women, who was handling the personal finances within the home. So I was making sure that all the bills were paid and that we had groceries and that the girls had shoes, just those major day-to-day operations. And I had never stopped to contemplate the totality of our debt. I knew we owed this much over here and this much over there, and we were making the minimums. I also didn't realize how close to the edge we were teetering at the time. And I think that was a little terrifying to see that big number. Like, oh crap, if one of us loses a job, or if someone gets sick, or there's an injury, we really would have been in a world of hurt. So I'm thankful that we kind of caught our attention at that point in time, and we decided to course correct and move on from there. But I think in Slaying the Debt Dragon, I open with the idea that being in debt is a lot like being in the dark, and it's scary and
Mhm.
overwhelming, and you feel alone. And I was convinced when we first started out on this journey that we were the only dummies out there that had ever racked up this much debt, and that's simply not true. The national
Right.
averages tell us that. But I just really, I felt like an idiot in some ways because I had not been paying attention, and I considered myself to be a pretty smart person, and yeah, it was alarming to say the least.
Yeah, and I mean, it really can add up just from like the small things that you buy on daily basis. If you're not tracking it or paying attention, it's easy for it to catch up on you. Or like some of us just would, I know in my case, like I would stick my head in the sand. I
Yeah.
didn't want to know the total amount because then that would be like horrifying. But I found that actually it's a relief when you figure it out and you start
Mhm.
to create a plan. Was it the same for you?
Yeah, definitely. And I think on this side of it, looking at if we had taken all of those things to term, that we would have paid out the wazoo, more than double what we owed if we had taken things to term that were accruing interest all along. So just having that plan and diving in and realizing that there's some stark reality. Yeah, we're in the hole, it's a mess, but there is a way out and there is hope. And we're going to just live this day by day until we make our way out of it. And that's what we did.
Yeah. So do you have any tips for somebody that's in debt right now and doesn't really know what to do?
Breathe. I think that's the first thing, because like you referenced, I like to call it the ostrich in the sand, sort of thing, that we just stick our head in the ground, we cover our eyes, and it paralyzes us from moving forward and toward health. So if you're in debt, you're not alone. There's lots of us out there. There is a way out. Breathe, pause, and then begin to resource yourself well to be able to make a way out. Because I think, most of our culture encourages us to stay there forever. And I'm living proof. We haven't had a credit card since 2008. So you're looking at like 13 years of no credit cards here. And now on the other side of things, too, we've paid off our mortgage. We've done some other things because that original number did not include our mortgage. So, realize there can be a different way of doing things, even if everybody's always told you you had to have a car payment or you have to have a credit card. That's simply not true. And then begin to make those baby steps out of where you're at right now. But you have to do something. You can't just cover your eyes and pretend it'll go away, because what we found was we ended up with a debt dragon, but really it started out as a lizard, and it was pretty small, and we just kept feeding it, you know.
Right,
So-
right. So did you and your husband create a budget during that time period, or what did you do?
Yeah, so definitely. And really early on, we had not talked about money much at all. It was more of like a uh, get what you need, do what you want, you know, sort of thing. And there was just no real game plan for our money. So, beginning with, we really didn't even know exactly how much we were bringing in on the regular, which is not unusual for most people. You have that balance hit your bank account and you just kind of spend it till it's gone, sort of thing. And then maybe pick up a credit card if you don't have enough to make it through the month. So, I think we had some very uncomfortable conversations to begin with, which is a little daunting for anybody who's in a relationship. We actually have a second book entitled "Your Money, Your Marriage," and we talk a lot in it about communication and how successful communication in finances translates to more intimacy in your relationship elsewhere as well.
Mhm.
And so, but those original meetings, man, those were long, and they were weekly at least, if not daily, where we were touching base about what was coming in and what was going out. They're a little more spread apart now because we have a little more access, both of us, to the accounts, and we're a little more intentional about talking about what's coming and going. And so it's a little more organic now, but boy, it was awkward to begin with.
Yeah. Sometimes I think people struggle with the communication piece of it, especially in the beginning. But I'm kind of a believer, like if you don't do it together, it's going to separate you, you know, or it can lead to divorce or problems. I think that was probably more of my situation.
Sure.
But then, like you, if you work together with your spouse, like it can definitely bring you closer. How did you guys kind of navigate those meetings, or without getting too heated?
Yeah, you know, I think one of the best things to keep in mind is that there was a reason why you walked down the aisle to that person. And life can get complicated, and we can let so many layers of hurt kind of pile upon pile there. And you have to come back to that to begin with. Like, I love you. There was a reason why I chose you. There was a reason why you chose me, and remembering that, and then just remembering that, you know, the real enemy, at least in our case, was not each other, it was the debt. And so once we kind of found that common ground of we're going to do this together, and we had the common enemy of the debt, that definitely gave us a renewed perspective. And that takes some time. Part of the story, I always tell the story, and then whenever Brian and I speak together, he reminds me and the audience that he actually tried 2 years prior to introduce this idea of paying off debt, and it was horrible and it failed. And it was because he really kind of bulldozed in and said, this is what we're going to do. And let's just say that was not received so well by me. So, you know, like his approach changed a lot in 2 years. And it was more of, I love you, and let's dream about all the things that we could do together if we weren't shackled down in this way. And so as we began to dream big together, then we both got more hungry and passionate. And the things that we did in year 4 to finish off that debt, or year 3.75, we never would have considered doing in year 1, because we would have told you crazy people do that, you know? So like Brian gave up eating at restaurants for 2.5 years. And in the first day, if we had tried that, that would have been like womp womp, you know, and it would not have worked.
Yeah.
So I think making small changes over time and sustaining them is essential. And it's contagious and almost a little bit addictive too.
Yeah. So during your journey of becoming debt free, did people look at you strangely or think like some of your changes in your behavior were odd?
I think we're odd. We are odd. I'm okay with that.
Who
I don't
isn't?
I know, right? So, yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people thought, like, what? Especially when Brian dropped the restaurants out, and he would not even eat restaurant food if someone else was buying. He just treated it like an addiction. And so, I definitely think a lot of people thought we were a little strange, but our core people, when we explained to them, like, this is why we're doing this and this is what we're doing, um, they were nothing but encouraging. And I think that's essential. Get yourself some people who are on a same or similar journey, or even if they're not on a same or similar journey, they're not going to drag you down. And,
Right.
when we made that final payment, we reached out to our community group. And then when we came back to meet for the first time after we'd made that payment, there was a big cake sitting in the middle of the table that had the word freedom on it. And I just cried, because all these people had been on the journey with us and they had felt it as well. But
That's so cool.
yeah, I think, we are a little crazy. It's okay to be a little crazy. And if you're
Yeah,
like everybody else, then you'll get what everybody else has.
absolutely. Yes. So tell me, what did you learn from your debt-free journey?
Oh my goodness. I one of the things that I really learned early on was most of the things that I love don't cost anything. And I think that was kind of huge because when we first started, I thought this is going to be miserable. Like, and not only is it going to be miserable, like I'm not going to be able to take my kids anywhere and they're going to suffer. And that's a big one for people that have kids. I think that they think, why should I punish my kids for something that I did, But really, when it came down to it, the things that we treasured the most, both as a family and me as an individual, for me, it's a glass of iced tea. That doesn't cost anything. I make it at home, like I
Yeah.
love good iced tea. And so when I started to list like the things that I love to laugh, like it's crazy what we misconstrue as important in our lives. I love a good sweat. Well, it turns out I can ride a bike pretty cheap, so there's a lot of things that you can do without spending money. But we play this game with ourselves that it's only going to be one way. So that's one thing that I think that I learned that was unexpected to me, because I
Yeah.
really thought we'll make these sacrifices for now so that we can, live crazy later on and do whatever we want. Well, in the midst of that, I learned like living crazy might not look the way that you thought it would look. Even when you do have money, you may still really like these things that don't cost anything. So
Yeah, absolutely. Um, After you paid off the $106,000 in debt,
it's
like,
127.
or I'm sorry, I went back to my number. I've said my number so many times, I just automatically went back.
Right. No,
No,
you're
you
good.
have me. You have
That's
me beat.
that's monumental too. I don't
Thank
discount
you.
either one.
After you paid off the $127,000 in debt, what was that like, and how did you create a plan to go forward?
Yeah. So the first thing that we did was to shoot a YouTube video in our kitchen. And I always love to tell like the behind the scenes story was that the house was a wreck and we literally cleaned the one corner of the kitchen that we could shoot the video in. And I had been out for a run and I did the like wash your face and put on makeup quick, sort of thing because money came in a little bit sooner than we thought it was going to. And so it was a very like almost like a shocking sort of thing. We did have some friends come over to shoot a video and to take some photos. And in fact, the photo, if you get Slaying the Debt Dragon, you'll see the photo that was taken on the day that we paid off that debt. And I don't think that we could recreate the faces we're making, even if we tried. So definitely encourage you to go out there and just look at the cover, if nothing else. They did airbrush. I was wearing a plastic crown because I run queenofree.net. And I used to wear the plastic crown all the time. And the booksellers thought that it would be really odd for people who didn't know my backstory to pick up the book and be like, why is this woman wearing a plastic crown? So they airbrushed my crown off my head.
Uh-huh.
And I think my hair looks a little weird because of it. But anyway. So that was like the immediate thing that we did. And we also went out for dinner, but Brian did not eat at a restaurant at that point either because he was saving his first time out. We actually had a big bracket where the readers of my blog chose where he would go for the first time. So that was fun. So those were those kind of like immediate minutes and days after sort of thing. We also threw a party and invited lots of people that we both knew and didn't know to come and celebrate with us because we felt like it was essential to kind of lay down a milestone marker for ourselves and those who had been cheering us along in our journey. And then we began saving money again to put back for a bigger emergency fund. And then after that, we went on the first vacation that we had taken in years. And so we saved cash for that as well.
Nice.
And I did tons of research on beach houses in North Carolina. So I have a very specific niche on how to save money. If you want to do that, you can hit me up. But we took that vacation. So we paid off the debt in March. We didn't take the vacation until October. By the time that we'd saved enough cash for it, and we'd also saved a more expansive emergency fund. So those were the, longer steps there.
So how did that vacation feel? Like when you were there or when you were done, how did that feel returning without debt?
Yeah, that was fantastic. We actually just returned there to the same place this year. So we went in 2012. And so then when we went again in 2020 in the fall, we were supposed to go in the spring and COVID reared its ugly head and we weren't able to do that. But we moved it to the fall and we were able to take kind of a little quarantine vacation where we basically did there what we're doing here, stayed home the whole time, but there's an ocean there, so that was better. But it was fantastic. My girls had never seen the ocean before, and so taking them out to see the ocean and the time that we spent with family, we actually brought some friends along. We were able to rent a house that was big enough for more than just our family, and so we gave some friends a vacation as well came and stayed with us a part of the time as well, so to be generous to someone else as we celebrated our own ability to, pay off debt that was icing on the cake. And just being able to breathe, it wasn't like I was worrying about expenses that everything was paid for, so it wasn't like, I don't know, former vacations where you buy a souvenir and you think how much money is still in the bank right now and what's my limit, there was none of that. It was just really rest. And that was a good thing after a long journey.
Yeah. And were you ever able to do anything like that before where you could pay for friends to go on a vacation or to do something?
Oh, heavens. No, definitely. We might be able to pay for somebody's coffee in the line behind us, but that was definitely our first kind of feet, toes into the water of being generous. And then since then, we actually have what we call the generous budget, which is a bank account that we keep money in where we put a certain percentage aside above giving charitably. So this is not like charitable giving. This is just, we see a veteran at the grocery store and we say, guess what? Your groceries are bought today. Or we, see a teacher at our local restaurant and we say, guess what? Your bill's been taken care of today, whether we know them or not, or we've mentored some young couples. And the first time we gave one of them envelope filled with lots of $100 bills in it, and they gasped when they opened it like that is the stuff right there.
Yeah.
And so that extreme generosity has just been fun. That's one of our favorite things to do. Like, how much do you want to give? So when we have those budget meetings now, like, what can we do to really be over and above to this person in our lives that we love? And how can we celebrate this graduation well? Or how can we, just surprise someone who's not expecting anything? And that's a sweet spot.
And yeah, I mean, what an amazing feeling that's got to be. And then also what your kids are seeing, is pretty epic too, because, they're going to learn based off what you guys do.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool. My 12-year-old this week, she takes dance lessons right now virtually from someone, and the person was not going to be able to be there the full time, and she said, I won't even charge you this week, and she said, I'll be happy to take the shorter lesson as long as we can still pay you. And I thought
Oh,
that was so funny because she was like, no, like we're still gonna do this, and I think that is pretty cool to see
yeah.
them kind of translate into we're grateful for you, and so we're still gonna remain committed here. So,
Yeah, that's awesome.
mhm.
So you're the queen of free. Do you
Right.
have some sort of tips for us on what we can do to either get things for free or do things for free or
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So I love free stuff. And this predates like any of the paying off debt stuff. It just happened to coordinate well. I can remember clear back when I was in the fourth grade, the Scholastic Book Fair coming to the basement of my school, setting up all of those shelves. And there was a book there that I bought with my own money that was like how to get free stuff. And it was, you send, this is back, I'm dating myself quite a bit, in the 80s, where whenever you wanted free stuff, there was no internet, but you sent in a self addressed stamped envelope to be able to get your SASE, right? They abbreviated it so that you could get free stuff. And so I've always loved free stuff. I've loved coupons. I've loved discounts and bargains. And clearance is like a gift for me. When I walk in the store, I can find the clearance section. And then if you can put a coupon with a clearance item, then it's just awesome. So out on queenofree.net, obviously I have lots of tips on how to get free stuff. Probably one of my favorite ways right now is to do that without thinking a lot. And that is in the form of digital apps that you can use to get free stuff. And so I love Shopkicks. That's one of my favorites, where you can walk into the store and get reward points just for being inside of a store. I like Fetch, which you can scan a receipt from almost any store that you go into and be able to get reward points for it. It's not store specific. I'm a big fan of M Perks at Meyer and the Target Circle program as well. So there's lots and lots of different ways that you can pick up free stuff, but I'm always about like making it as easy as possible. So you probably won't see me at CVS with a big long line of stuff and I'm like, getting all the free stuff. I could do that if I wanted to, but I don't, that's not how I choose to spend my time now. But there's plenty of great ways out there at just finding systems that work for you. And
Yes.
even if they don't work for everybody else, so, and what you like to do and where you see kind of the reward from that. So,
Yeah, I think it's so important, like you said, like to find something that works for you, find something that you like to do, because some things like couponing has never been for me, but for other people, like they
yeah,
love it. But
yeah.
you find ways to cut corners or to get things for free that work for you. But if you hate it, don't
Right.
mess with
Right.
it.
Another thing that I love, and I always say this, I'm my own worst salesman when it comes to books and selling books, because I love the local library. And most local libraries also have digital platforms. Two of the most popular are Hoopla and Overdrive. And I'm constantly listening to audiobooks on Hoopla and Overdrive. And both of my books are available on ebook format, and Your Money, Your Marriage is available on Audible or audio book format on those platforms for free. So, like just finding those ways to cut some corners to be able to save some cash so that you could do what you love to do anyway is always a great thing.
Absolutely. And I'm with you. I love the library and love books, and sometimes I'm a little obsessed with them. But Sherry, what's next for you?
That's a great question. So I spent most of last year helping launch my oldest daughter. She's a freshman in college this year. And so in the middle of the pandemic, I scaled back on some of what I was doing personally to help her find scholarship opportunities, meet those deadlines. She did all the work, but I was like the manager. So I have amassed a whole lot of knowledge on college and how to pay for college with cash and how to land scholarships and kind of the timing of when your kids, while they're in high school, should be taking those exams like the ACT, SAT, and how many times they should take them and which YouTube channels are the best ones to help them do well on those, and writing essays and all of that. So I am pooling that knowledge and consolidating it, but I'm going to wait until she graduates before I decide that I'm an expert on anything. So I'm she's doing fantastic. So that probably will be 3 or 4 years down the road. I'm still consistently writing at queenoffree.net. I appear on the NBC affiliate here in Indianapolis, where I live, every Sunday morning. So if you ever want to catch me, you can actually go to WTHR.com and watch me live on there. And I write for a local newspaper as well, and do some speaking too, and a lot of it on Zoom right now, which has been kind of fun and a new adventure for me as well. So that's where I'm at. I've got my younger daughter is busy too, so I'm in a phase of also, she's 13, so I'm driving her everywhere right now. There's like a 3-year sort of tunnel there where I am also a taxi driver. So that's where I'm living right now, though.
Love it. So badass. So let's end with a tip to encourage women who are in the arena fighting for the life that they want.
Yeah. I think do something every day that enriches your soul. And for me, this is going to look a couple of different ways. One is regular reading. And I do love reading across the spectrum. And then for me, it's also exercise. And I think I need it both physically and mentally every day. And one of the reasons why I value exercise and showers is because I can't have my hands on a screen in the midst of it. And right now, I think it's the only way I can kind of escape it. And it's when my best ideas come, and when I'm detached, from everyone and everything else. So for you, that may be driving in the car. It may be, time spent with a friend. It may look different for everyone, but for me, there has to be some time during the day where I am not drawn into another rabbit hole of the internet, or I'm not being asked to prepare a meal or pick someone up or whatever, like that block of time every day to really just focus in on realizing that I am valuable. And that time is necessary for me.
So good. To be yours, take time for yourself, learn to detach. So important. And Sherry, how can we connect with you?
Yeah. So again, you can find me at queenoffree.net and online on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest at the Queen of Free, all one word. And I would love for you to subscribe to my email newsletter. It goes out only about once a week. I'm not big on bugging people. And then obviously the books are sold wherever books are available. So you can certainly find them on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, any of the major retailers, or at your local library.
Okay, awesome. I will definitely put that in the show notes. Thank you so much. You're a total badass, and I've enjoyed hearing your story.
Well, thank you very much.
And with that, we'll end our show. To all the badass women out there staying in the arena, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, own it and get after it.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the podcast. If you liked it, please head on over to iTunes and leave a 5-star review. It would mean the world. That way, other people just like yourself, other badasses, can find this podcast. So head on over to iTunes, leave a 5-star review, then of course, screenshot it and send it to me on Instagram at Ordinary to Badass. I would love to be able to say thank you, because taking the time to leave a rating and review means the world. On Thursday, we will have the catch-up episode where you hear why Sherry Lowe is so badass. And then the following Monday, you will be hearing from Allie Bollinger. Allie is a health coach. She helps women become their healthiest and happiest selves without food restriction. I think that's so important. She always talks about what can you add to your diet as opposed to taking it away. So stay tuned to those episodes, because I know that you're not going to want to miss them. All right, and with that, I'm out, and I'll catch you on Thursday.
Now that you've listened to this episode of Ordinary to Badass, we want to hear from you. Go to our website, ordinarytobadass.com/podcast, and submit your own experience on how you took your life from ordinary to badass and get the chance to be on a future Spotlight episode of the show. That's ordinarytobadass.com/podcast. While you're waiting for the next episode of the show, wipe off the sweat, dust off the dirt, and get back in the arena.